Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Logan Props here. And I know it's been a while, and I'll explain in a minute why and everything else. But today you see here that we are going to be building the Blade of Olympus. This has been a really fun project, and I hope you guys can also enjoy the video as well and enjoy building this project with me. So let's get started with the video. Hey everybody, Logan Props here. I know it's been about 2 years, maybe 3 by the time I get this video uploaded, but this video is going to be a long one, as you probably can tell by the length of the video that's going on now. But I just wanted to add, before I get right into this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the props and all the stuff that I've been making. Because I've been making a lot of things off camera, I just haven't been making them with you guys. Because, you know, sometimes it's harder to record and just stop the momentum that I have going with recording and then stopping, saying what I need to, and just not smoothly going through the whole process. That's kind of what made this video this project so long, is that this project, I would say in work time, took me about 9 months to actually make and get done and build properly to its fullest extent. So I just wanted to say, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this video, because this one I really had fun with. And I really enjoyed making, and through the whole entire time and the year that gone by practically building this prop, I hope you guys enjoy. And well, you know, this project, I will say, if you guys want to build it on your own, it will take time, and to make it the best quality that you ever want it to be, take your time with it. And if you need to take a break with it. But anyways, here's the rest of the video, and I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so now that we're starting on our project, I need to organize this toolbox with something special. And here it is. Here's those orange little buckets that I have that I use to organize my toolbox here. You can see that you can also stack them as well. I just didn't, because it didn't quite fit. But that's okay, because I organized all my sharps, my tools, all my marking utensils and all that. So now that this is organized, we can get started on the project. So right before we start onto this project, I want to show you guys the template that I have made personally. This has been really useful for me, at least, just because I saw the lines and I know where to start and where to place things. It might be a bit confusing, so I added a little bit of instructions to some of the pages. And you just have to line up each of the numbers up to the numbers on the next page, which I kind of try to make it a little bit easy and simplified for you guys, so then you guys will understand and get to also use these templates as you build as well. Alright, so as you can see here, you can see that I've made my own template for this project, and I'm trying to work on getting that to you guys, but it's a bit difficult. But I also added some reference to how big this actually is. This is 6 feet long, and I also made a second mini one, so then I can use that as a reference page, so then I can actually map out which layer I'm at and what I'm doing during this whole project that's going on. And so yeah, this is a long project. Alright, so the first thing that we should start on getting done is get the template cut out and ready to transfer onto the cardboard that we will be cutting out soon, and then cut the cardboard. And also, let's not forget to cut the center part of the template, so then you can transfer it and you'll also have that center piece cut out and ready to use when you're ready to start cutting the cardboard. Alright, so now that we're preparing the cardboard for the template, we need to cut off this little sheet or this little thing that's on the cardboard and make it all smooth and all one sheet, and we can take that and cut it up and discard it however we need to. Alright, so now that you could see, I put the template on top of the cardboard, so then we can start tracing and mapping it out. And we will need to add more cardboard on the edges, so then we can include the whole cross guard with the edges that you can also see right here. We're also going to need some more cardboard for the end of the template where the handle is placed, so then we can also still make the handle with this sword. Of course, every sword needs a handle. Here you can see that I also mapped the template on the cardboard a bit differently. I will also be making the handle soon, just not while it's not on my workstation and floating in the air. Alright, so now I have the template traced on the cardboard, at least the sword part of the template traced onto the cardboard for now. But I will add later the template to the rest of the cardboard and line it up properly, and then we can start working on the other parts of the sword. So we can now have the template on this piece of cardboard be our new template for the other layers and parts of this blade that we will then build for the rest of the video. And now we can start working on getting this piece of cardboard cut up. I've finally gotten the blade section of the Grand Sword of War cut out, and also being hunched over for a long time really does take a toll on your back while you're cutting and making those precise cuts. And also now we can use this piece to trace onto the other pieces of cardboard and get the other parts done. Alright, so as you can see here, I accidentally cut my finger, and just because Kratos cuts himself with the Blade of Olympus at the end of the third game does not mean that you should get hurt while making this too. And please, just be safe making this. So now that you have the first layer complete for the whole entire sword, now you need to duplicate this 4 more times, so in a total of 5 layers in total throughout the whole entire blade itself. Okay, so now that we have both blade layers done, you can see here that they don't line up the same because some of the bottom part of the blade is missing. However, don't worry about it. It is not a huge worry because this is part of the design, is that there's going to be more cardboard added on to that edge that's going to cover the seam of the layer under it. So it's kind of like Legos, and when you put 2 blocks together, you take another block and you put it right over those seams, so then the sword is more structurally sound. So now you can see that we've had all the layers cut and glued together. All 5 of them are glued together now, and I glued them all together with not hot glue. I used some Elmer's glue instead and glued all the pieces together. So you can now see that the parts that I'm going to be mapping out on this mini scaled template chart here, I'm going to be going all down the line and the side of the sword, so then you can see what parts that I'm going to be talking about shortly and the parts that I'm actually going to be building on the sword. And it gets more complicated after here. As you can see that some of the parts that I'm marking down right now are parts that some are raised up, but then some of them are also raised up. So I'm gonna just show right here that the edge piece where the blade and the edges are, that is going to be raised higher with just one more layer of cardboard, while the other raised parts will be raised up with some cereal box paper. There are also some of these pieces that are on the sides of the blades, and they're raised up, but we don't want to raise them up too much like the blade of the sword. We just want to raise them up just a little bit, so then you can still see the detail on the edge of the sword here. After gluing the details of the sword onto the blade, you're going to need to sand off the coating on the cereal box cardboard that contains the advertisement or whatever product that you're using. You're just going to need to sand that off, as this will make it easier for when later we get into the paper macheing stage and the glue will actually stick to the sword on those parts and not just glue to it, get hard, and then pop off the sword, because that will happen if you skip this step of sanding the cereal box cardboard, and it will just be a whole lot more trouble in the long run. So I would say just get this stage done early. I use CW80 grit, and I would suggest the same because it will tear it up, and then use a softer grit later. You can see here that I also used the sandpaper and attached it to a block. It only sanded 3 layers down at like a 45-degree angle up to that 4th middle layer, which the 4th middle layer will keep it strong and sturdy, and it will make sure that you're not actually denting the corner in the fine point edge that you create. But also I want to warn you to not go past any of the corner pieces at the end of the blade, as it will take away from the blade and it won't look like an actual sword. And also don't go past any of the raised up pieces. Now that we're done with the blade part of this huge sword, we can now focus on the crossguard section of this gigantic sword. I also forgot to mention that we need to cut off the nose of the template, so then we can give the side faces a better shape, and so then the nose isn't just a blocky nose, it actually has a shape to it. As you can see here, there are lines that I added to the template, so then I can continue to remove each layer for the shapes that I'm trying to get into this crossguard, and especially the handle to get that cylindrical shape. It's kind of hard with those corners, so you'll have to sand those down a bit. But you'll also see me do this later in the video for various parts, just so then I could get the crossguard and all the rest of the parts in the right shapes and make them look the best they can. You'll see here that I removed some of the layers from the template, and you'll see the people start to take shape and the handle gets smaller and smaller from now on. And now the sword is starting to take on its legendary shape, and the project will get a little more complicated from now on. You can also see here that there's a minor lineup issue, but that's not a problem because we will fill up that hole later. The people on the sword too are also going to take more shape on the sword, and so you'll see me removing more and more layers from the template to start shaping up everything else onto this sword. You're going to also see here that I'm starting to add more muscle definition to the people that are bowing on the sword, and you kind of do have to do a little bit of anatomy to get this part looking natural and right. Now that the bulk of the crossguard is done, it's on to the more complex and fun details that will be added to the crossguard, like the Zeus's face will be fun to make. That one is less complex than the actual 6 people that are bowing down, holding in a sense the blade. And you'll also see that the people are more complex to build, and so you'll see me numbering each of the layers on where they're going to be placed and which layer number they are, so then I don't get confused and it would be a better shaped project and you will know which part goes where onto the sword and onto the parts as well. I decided here that it's better to make each of the parts separately and then add them onto the sword once they're done, so then the sides don't crush it as I'm laying it down working on the other side. I added here the base layer of the people onto the sword first, just because that the middle guy has 2 parts, and it will get very confusing later if I had 4 parts and I didn't know which one was supposed to go on which side, and which one was for which set. So I just decided to remove the confusion and add them onto the sword already. I want to also share with you guys real quick that for the smaller pieces of the people, please use a sharper knife as you will get a much cleaner cut and they won't fall apart on you as you're cutting them. Now that you guys are done with the guys that are on the sword, you could finally start to work on the centerpiece of the sword, which is Zeus's face. You'll see here that I'm stacking onto the layers of Zeus's face, just so I can show you guys the shape that I'm going for into Zeus's face onto the sword. So now that you got Zeus's face done, you have to just add the nose, and then congratulations, you are done with the whole structural part of the project, and from now on, it'll just be cosmetics and little details that you need to add onto the sword. So here I'm just going to show you guys the paper macheing of the handle part that I've been working on. However, I do know that you need to paper mache the whole entire blade, so then it all looks 100% smooth, looks like it's the same material, and just altogether a better, well-rounded prop. So here I just wanted to document real quick that at the beginning of this section, I did make a mistake of trying to make paper clay, which it didn't look right. It looked very weird. It wasn't natural. So I switched over to Fomo, which is a foam clay, which was way better for this project. As you will see later in the video, I'll just take it off and use another material. So here is Zeus's face. You're going to have to pick his nose a little bit and shape his face up. But this is the FOMO. This made the prop and the part of this project look way more organic than the paper clay, which I hope you guys also will use in your video as well. So then it looks way better. I've also forgot to mention that you'll be using this FOMO, the foam clay, on the people that are bowing down as well. So then you'll just basically be following your outlines of the people bowing onto the sword, and it'll just make it look way better and a lot more organic. And this is what your sword is supposed to look like after you paper mache everything and you get it all paper mached up. So here you'll see me use some cardboard skin, that I like to call it, but it's just paper from the cardboard, and I use this to cover up the cardboard lines on the side of the project that are too bulky to really fill with glue or paper mache properly, so I used this to fill that in, so then it would look way nicer. Here you'll be seeing me using more FOMO to make the hands and all the arms actually reach down onto the surface of the blade, so then it's not raising up and you'll see the cardboard underneath all the parts. Here you'll see me using some FOMO to make the beard on Zeus's face a bit longer into the handle. But you'll see later in this video that I decided to take it off and just remodel that part, just because it didn't look right, and it was also extremely difficult to hold the sword with the beard section protruding into more of the blade. You'll see here that we have to deal with the pommel now and make this Miguel O'Hara from the Spider-Verse shape onto the pommel. But that's where I will outline and put all the FOMO, so then I can raise that a bit and make it look a little bit better on the handle and give it a bit more shape. You'll see here that I took off the beard part of Zeus's face just because it didn't seem right and it didn't feel right to me. So I took it off and it looks a little bit messy, but that's alright. You'll just have to sand that down and then remodel it. However, you'll have to also sand down the rest of the sword so then it looks all nice and smooth. Here you'll see me start to circle some of the holes that were left after sanding the whole sword, and in which I will fill in with some glue. I don't use normal Elmer's glue, I use the stronger one, the one that's for strength, just because it gives it a harder layer, but it will make a huge difference as it will make the project look like a whole thing, not separated and all that. So I would recommend using some glue and filling up those holes. So now that you're starting on to the end of this part where you're starting to paint the project, I sealed this thing twice. I used Mod Podge first, just put it over everything, because you'll see here in a second that I'll be using some Plastidip, which if you've used Plastidip and cardboard before, you'll know that when you use Plastidip, it adds some like spiky things onto your project. I don't know how to explain them, but it's just a huge hassle in the long run. So seal it with Mod Podge first. So you'll see here that I've showed you all of the paints, or at least most of them, that I'll be using. But first you'll be needing to use the Plastidip on the project, just so it has kind of a rubbery feel to it so you can grip the handle better. But it'll also take in the color way better and prime it a whole lot better. And you'll just see the huge difference that the Plastidip makes in the long run after you get all of it on, and then you'll just see how it makes a huge difference. And I love Plastidip on projects for its sealing ability and making the project just better. Here you see all the Plastidip that's sprayed onto the project. This took me a couple cans because it's just a giant project in itself. It took about 1.5 cans of Plastidip to coat the whole entire thing. But I'm not going to be talking as much, just so then you guys can see all of the colors that come after it and all the masking that is a part of this. And I just think you guys will enjoy to just see this part and hear me disrupt the music of you guys listening and watching this video. I will have to note here that you have to get a certain special type of spray paint for the gold and the silver, just because the metallic finish is what you're looking for. If you get something that isn't like that, it will be more of a yellowish tint and it won't look like the Blade of Olympus at all. You'll see here that I got all the masking tape off of the sword, and here I thought I was actually done, but as time went on it just did not look right to me. It looked more turquoise, and so you'll see here that we'll have to add a little bit of a shine downer so then the reflection of the blade isn't so powerful. You'll see here that the blue looks more turquoise next to the gold, and so I wanted to make this look more like the God particles in the God of War game 2 and 3, because they're both in each of them. And so you'll see I'm adding multiple layers of different blues and sometimes a little bit of white to it, just so then it looks more particle-y. You'll see here that I'm making the reflective metallic parts a little bit less reflective with some black and red. I decided to add some red just because, you know, maybe some blood got on the sword, who knows. However, this will just make the colors of the sword be more cohesive and have it just be a better project and a final finish of it. In the long run, you'll see that it will look a little bit better than just being straight silver and gold, which is a super reflective one. I also want to add, do not cake this paint onto the project because it will completely ruin it. I only dry brushed it with a foam brush, and that gave me just enough color to dumb down the reflectiveness of the colors. And now here you'll see that I've added a third layer of sealing coat to it, which I just used a clear coat and just sprayed over the whole entire project, just so then all the colors are there, it doesn't wear off anymore, and then your project is 100% done. Congratulations, you've built the Blade of Olympus, one of the godly weapons that Kratos wields in a third game. And here you are finally completed and the project is done, which you can add more crystal-y colors to the blue or less, just depends on you and what you want for this. But I will also show you guys a comparison of the 6-foot sword against a 4-foot sword next to it. That is actually a normal sized sword next to this giant behemoth. Real quick, I also forgot that this sword also weighs about 5 pounds. I just want to say thank you guys for watching this video. I really do want to see if you guys make this sword as well. This was a very fun project. It did take me about 9 months in total to build this sword and to actually get it right. And I just hope you guys enjoyed this. This was very fun. If you guys would like to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button to get notified for any of the other videos I will post later of any props that I make. And the next ones I can guarantee will not be from video games. They will be my own designs, and I will hope you guys would enjoy those videos. But next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. So now you guys can all recognize this old mat here. This mat actually I've been using for many years now, but it has many cracks in it and the whole thing is just kind of really just old in general. So yeah, it's gonna be retired, and we're gonna need to then say our goodbyes to it. Bye-bye, Matt. We're gonna have to say goodbye to it because now we have a new one. We're gonna be using this new one from now on. You'll see this gray one is gonna be used a lot more than the green one, because the green one I'm not planning on using anymore. And so yeah, we're gonna have to say goodbye to old Matt. And yeah, so bye-bye, Matt.